Chapter 35. One Saturday, my dad dragged me with him and Bob to go to Greenville for some fencing that we couldn't get in the small town we lived in. Bob was talking about hunting, even though it wasn't hunting season. I knew that my dad sometimes got tired of his hunting stories and the hunting talk. "You should shoot skeet, Bob, like me and Daddy do," I informed him as I played with the radio. "Get your hands off that," Daddy remarked as he batted my hands away from the radio. I gave him the look, but it didn't faze him. "There's no end prize in shooting skeet, just a bunch of busted up clay," Bob replied back. Then he launched into a story of his youth about hunting. I silently growled and looked out at the scenery. A big storm was expected, and it was gloomy dark. "Are you listening to me?" he asked as he nudged me a while later. Well, no, I had been listening to Aerosmith in my mind. It was so much better than the old whiny country station that was trying to burn my brain up. It was Bob's favorite station. I mean, who cared if the singer's woman had left him? Adults could fry your mind if... "Christmas," my dad scolded. I glanced at him. "Bob was talking to you." So I glanced at Bob. "What are you learning in that school of yours?" he asked. "They're teaching me to be an asshole, Bob," I deadpanned. "What did I tell you about cussing?" Daddy remarked in irritation. "That school is doing a good job," Bob chuckled. To my dad he said, "She's a blueprint of you for sure." "Thanks a lot," Daddy replied dryly as he pulled the truck into the Home Depot's parking lot. "I hope it's not pouring down when we come out," he added as he looked up at the sky when we exited the truck. I'd wanted to sit into the truck while they shopped, but I was being made to go inside. I looked at the different ceiling fans and lighting while they went to look at fencing. I looked at all the nails and screws next, then the plumbing aisle. The aisle with the doors was interesting as well as the bathroom fixtures. They found me handling all the pliers and hand tools, and then we headed back to the truck. There were 2 large rolls of fencing in the bed of the truck. It began raining hard before we were halfway home. It was hard to see the road. Bob's favorite radio station was warning of tornadoes. It was that time of the year for them, though. That blaring, annoying noise that they played when they wanted to get your attention was coming across the radio, and they were naming the area to watch. "Motherfucker, that's where we are!" Bob exclaimed as he scanned the horizon. I saw Daddy glance at Bob in aggravation at the choice of cuss words. I felt a weird vibe in the air and wondered what it was. Then I realized it was a tornado approaching. "Daddy, we need to pull over to the side of the road and lay in the ditch. We need to do it now," I told him matter-of-factly. He turned and blinked at my serious but calm assessment. Then he pulled over to the dismay of a lot of people behind us. There was enough of a shoulder that we were at least a few feet from the road. The windshield wipers swished the rain at a frantic speed. I wondered if we really should get out in it then. Everyone would be so pissed if I was wrong and we lay in a ditch in the mud and rain unnecessarily. "We're going to get soaked," Bob complained, but then he glanced at me. "Is this really necessary?" "The tornado was like a minute away coming straight towards us," my mouth told him. I blinked at those words that had not been mine. Well, he jumped out of the truck like something bit him. My dad and I followed. I must admit that it felt silly to be getting out in the rain, and it was raining hard. "You better be right," Bob yelled. We were all instantly soaked as the rain poured down on us. "I am right," I yelled back louder as the rain was loud too. Water was dripping from our hair and in our eyes, and we were trying to wipe it away. Other people were pulling to the side of the road now and getting in the ditch too after seeing us do it. Now the wind had a roar to it. It was interesting, and I cocked my head to listen. "Oh my God, get down!" Daddy suddenly yelled. "There it is!" We looked at where he was pointing. I'd never seen such a cool sight in my whole life. I stared at the dark swirling cloud as it advanced towards us. It was still probably a mile away. Daddy yanked me down with him, and we lay in about 6 inches of muddy water. I looked up, and it was coming straight at us. but I was only awed by its power. I felt ready to go wherever it took me, and I knew it would be a wild ride. "Save yourselves, turn it away," my mind said loudly to me. Bob was praying now. I was wondering how I should turn the tornado away. "It's your mission to save these people," the voice insisted. "I love you, Bear Cub. You've been a good kid," my dad told me with a stricken look on his face. "I love you too, Father Bear, but I'm going to stop that tornado. I have to." "What?" he asked in confusion. It was harder to hear now with the roar of the tornado approaching and the rain beating down on us. I was imagining the tornado dissipating upward. That was the only thing I could think of. It was still coming towards us and was maybe a football field away. Bob was praying harder. I felt the suffocating fear of everyone around me, but in my mind I continued to see the tornado dissipating into nothing. There was stuff flying around in the dark tunnel of wind, and some of it was flying past us. Bob yelped as a biting spray of dirt hit us. I imagined us then covered by a protective shield from the debris. My dad's truck started sliding backwards, and I immediately held it in place without consciously thinking about it. I realized then that I had to somehow hold everything from sliding backwards or the cars would run people over. It felt like I was doing that now. There were screams and screeching tires and other noises as other people encountered the tornado. As I drew a ragged breath thinking about my dad dying and how I didn't want that to happen, the tornado suddenly lost strength and shape as it went upward and disappeared. Several pieces of debris landed around us in the road and the surrounding area. I watched someone's car hood roll past us and fall to the ground. The roar subsided then. All was quiet for a few seconds except for the pounding rain. We slowly got up out of the ditch, but Bob had only scooted out of the ditch into less watery ground. "It's okay. That's the last of it," I told him. My dad was hugging me tightly and saying some emotional things. He calmed and we looked at Bob sitting on the soggy ground, the rain continuing to beat down on us. I sat down beside him and put my arms around him as the voices urged me to. He was shaken, and I released his fear and that of my dad. A few of the other people that had lain in the ditch were crying and talking. "I'm okay, I'm just an old man," Bob barked as he got to his feet. Daddy was checking the people around us to see if they were okay. We eventually got back into the truck, our clothes and shoes muddy and soaking wet. The truck was okay. It had only slid on the ground a few feet. Both my dad and Bob were still shaken up, but I felt strong from the power of the tornado. "Do you want me to drive, Dad?" I asked. "No, we've had enough trauma for one day," he quipped. We saw the damaged houses and barns that set far back from the road as he drove. I was thinking that it was lucky that there weren't any trees close to the road because they surely would have fallen. But soon we had to detour around a downed tree. It looked like the tornado had only touched down for about a mile because the damage stopped abruptly. We didn't say much on the ride home. "I know you were thinking you could stop that tornado, but weather is a force of nature," my dad remarked later as we were watching some new police drama on TV. I felt a jolt of abandonment from his statement, and it hurt that he didn't believe me. I almost gave into a reaction of arguing, but instead I bit back that reaction and replied, "Yep, force of nature." Deep inside it still hurt that he didn't believe what I could do. He had believed me when I said we had to get into a ditch, right?